This episode of the Journey podcast contains adult content, strong language, and conversation of sexual addictions and may not be suitable for all listeners. Please decide now if this episode is right for you. The Not Safe for Work NSFW warning is going up on this one, my friends. We always say we are going to dive deep into the issues this crazy world can offer Christians, and boy, does this episode sure deliver on that promise. So here we go. Fasten your seatbelts. This one is going to be a doozy. CCUMEDIA presents the Journey podcast. Listener discretion is advised.
Did we grow up in some sort of poverty?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We you guys were raised before I went to college, y'all. We were in Burlington City.
Okay.
Your sister and brother had to fight every day coming from school.
See,
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to say. I was going
Yeah,
to
they were
say.
latchkey
Yeah.
kids.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely, they were
I
in
was getting
poverty.
ready
We
to
were
say-
on one of the worst streets there was in Burlington City. The drugs were being sold on every corner.
Wow.
And I knew I had to get you guys out of that environment. I knew
Right.
I could not raise my kids in that environment.
This is the Journey podcast, a podcast about the issues Christians face in everyday life. I'm Brandon Hargrove Cita. I'm joined as always by my co-host Tanya Hayes and my wonderful wife Bree Hargrove Cita. This podcast is a production of CCUMEDIA. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Christ Care Unit Missionary Baptist Church, CCUMEDIA, or Bishop Robert F. Hargrove Sr. We are all members of Christ Care Unit Missionary Baptist Church in Sicklerville, New Jersey, where Bishop Robert F. Hargrove Sr. is pastor and founder. Today, we sit down with our very first guest on the podcast, Reverend Taunjenette Poole, a clinical psychologist and owner of Holistic Counseling Services here in Sicklerville, New Jersey. We will hear from her in great detail as we talk about the issues Christians face in everyday life. We have a great conversation locked and loaded for your listening enjoyment. As stated already, portions of this episode comes with a Not Safe for Work NSFW warning. Please decide now if this episode is right for you. If so, stick around because in just a second, we will dive deep into the issues Christians face every day. This is the Journey Podcast. Let's talk about it. Okay, ladies. Another episode of the Journey Podcast. We're back again,
here we are.
and we are excited to be back again.
Yes.
It's been 2 weeks since our last new episode, and thank you for joining us. All those who are listening in,
welcome.
welcome back. We're glad you decided to stop back again. And we have a good one. I'm not gonna give away all the secrets yet, but we got a good one. Today's an extra special episode because we have our first guest.
Who is it?
Yeah, our
Let's
first
find out
guest.
who it
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to it. Don't you worry. And don't you worry at home either. We will get to all the good stuff in just a minute here. But first, before we dive in, we always talk about how, we want people to comment and leave their thoughts and suggestions on Facebook. And we've been asking. And I'm a bit of a procrastinator, so I'm not up on the podcast Facebook like I should be all the time.
Right.
And I missed, we actually got our first comment, our first review
Wow.
of the Journey podcast, by the way, of a faithful CCU member, Sister
excited.
Oretta Thomas.
Yay.
Thank you for commenting and leaving us. So I think for our first one, I should read it. She says, so far, I think the topics that were discussed were very worthwhile and interesting. The host did an excellent job with the subject matter. I would recommend all CCU members listen in.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Sister Thomas.
We
Yes. But
recommend
she said
that
the host.
everyone,
I just want to stop right there for a minute. Hold on. She said the host.
the hosts, plural.
Hosts.
Oh, the host plural.
All of them.
Oh,
hosts.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
She
All
didn't
of
forget
us.
about you, Miss
Thanks,
Thomas.
Loretta.
Yeah, nobody forgot about you. It's okay.
No, okay. Cool.
So yes, the sad thing about this comment is that it was posted April 20th.
Wow.
And as of today, it is May 15th.
Wow.
So
5 days from a whole month.
We are.
sorry,
Wow.
Miss Oretta. Get to your comment.
We love you. We love you.
But we appreciate it. And I'm going to do better. Maybe. Maybe somebody
He's
else
gonna
will
try.
want to do
Yeah,
the Facebook.
just say maybe because
Maybe somebody else will want to do the Facebook. I don't know. Just anyone.
I like it.
No.
Don't volunteer all at once now.
We're not.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, we appreciate you leaving that comment. It means a lot to us, especially this, starting this new little podcast. So, anyone else who feels so inclined to do the same, please do. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you think, whether it's good, the good, bad, or the ugly. We welcome it here at the Journey podcast. Was kind of thinking of maybe our first segment that we could get into here on the podcast, and maybe it'll work, maybe not. I don't know. I'm gonna present it. We're gonna do the first one here, and then my challenge is gonna be to you two to follow suit with this, and also, get on the bandwagon here for this first segment that we have. So here's the premise.
Nothing yet.
Here's the premise.
Y'all don't
I
know.
often go back, as I've said before, I often go back and I listen to the previous episodes just because, we're so new.
Mm-hmm.
And, what works, what doesn't. And often I find myself, at least for the three of the episodes that are up now, there's 4 posted as of this recording date. Mm-hmm. And I always hear something that we say, not at fault or whatever, but I always hear something that we say, and I think, well, duh, you'll ask a question, and I'm thinking, duh, the answer is so simple. It's this. Maybe we didn't get to it. Maybe we didn't, you know how the conversations go on the podcast. Yeah. Somebody talks over somebody, and we lose what we were talking about before, and we go off on another tangent. Yeah. So it's like, we ask a question or we say a statement is made, and it's like, well, how come nobody addressed that? You know what I mean? So I figured we take some time maybe at the beginning of each new episode about the episode previous to this one, and talk about some of the things that may come up, which is where you two come in. You'll need to listen to the episode that we do before in full. And so basically I was thinking of a name, and I was thinking of I thought of the obvious answer. So the segment would be called The Obvious Answer. And the obvious answer is something that you hear or, is said, and it's like, well, it's like that duh moment, like, obviously the answer is blank.
Right.
So for the first one, I have 2 examples. The first one, Miss Tanya brought up about Pastor Fryer, Overseer Fryer, on his podcast, was talking about the differences between the South and down South and up North, like not seeing so much violence and everything, and hearing about all the killings and everything. You come back up here, we live in the Northeast, so you hear about all the stuff going on in Philly and all that stuff.
Right.
During that part of the episode, I was not here. I walked out of the room briefly, and it brought back that memory. I didn't hear what was said. So when I heard it on the recording, I was like, I came up with an obvious answer. So my thing was, okay, he didn't. There's obviously violence everywhere. It happens everywhere. So to say that you go down south and you didn't hear about it, well, you didn't hear about it because you're not from down south. So let's say you're on Facebook or social media, or you say you don't turn on the news because you're only down there for a few days. What do you see on the news? Violent crime, shooting, this and that. You're going to watch the news up here because you're from here. More people are going to be inclined to watch the news from where they're from versus not watching the news on vacation, or if you're going away, not even if it's not on vacation, if you're somewhere where you're traveling, you may not see it in the news. And then I was also thinking, on Facebook, if you're scrolling on Facebook, you get information on your newsfeed and things from the area you are from. So if you travel to North Carolina, you're not going to get North Carolina news on your newsfeed on Facebook. Yeah. So, although while it's not necessarily a negative thing or a bad thing, it doesn't have to be. As I was listening to it, I thought, well, to me, the obvious answer why he goes down south and doesn't hear a lot about, violence or whatever is because he's not from down south. People that are from down there are going to be connected and into the news and things that are going on down there. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Yeah, because it does. You know what I mean? So
right, but I don't think that he was saying that it didn't that it didn't happen. I believe that what he meant was that it wasn't as prominent as it is up here. It's not as much. I think that's what he was saying. But then you have to think about the fact that we're basically in tune to our news channels are in tune to the Philly channel more so than anything. Because I'm actually from North Jersey. And I know that if, like you said, if I'm up North Jersey, I'm going to hear a whole lot of stuff that's going on up there.
Right.
And maybe just a little bit maybe from Philadelphia, And so I get what you're saying. And, yeah, you're absolutely right. If he was down there, if he was down there long term and he watched the news, he would probably say, "Hey, we got so much crime
down here. Right.
Crime down here."
But like I said, maybe some of that confusion or so came in because I wasn't necessarily in the room when the conversation was happening. I had stepped out and then came back in right after that point. So that's just like I said. It's just your take on it. So as you go back and listen to this episode for the next time we record, you'll listen to something and just going back and listening to the conversation that's had and go, well, I think. Whatever. So that's what this, that's the basis of this segment. The second one I just thought of as we were talking to our guest, which we'll introduce in a minute, was when we were talking about the boots. In the last episode, we were talking about Bree.
These daggone boots.
That you go back and listen to the story on the last episode. Basically, Bree had to give up her boots to another child. Her shoes were messed up, and Bree's mother, who's a minister, the leader of the youth ministry, it was a youth trip for the church, basically instructed her, hey, give the girl your boots. Bree, I guess not knowing why, why do I have to give her my boots? That was basically the premise of the story. Right. So go back and listen to it. So what wasn't said, I don't think, I certainly didn't know it. And this is the obvious answer for don't be upset, Bree. She got the boots replaced. Her mother bought her new boots anyway.
Two pairs of boots. 2 pair of boots. Yes. And she told, that was the whole thing. She had, she's Reverend Poole now. She was Minister Poole then. She, doggone near, had to beg her. And she said, I will get you 2 pair of boots. She was already getting boots. And she said, I will get you 2 pair. And Bree was like,
I was still upset.
And Bree was salty. So.
She said they were her
those are my favorite
boots. She was salty though, y'all. She was real salty.
The obvious
At
answer.
this point, okay, that was when I was a lot younger. I am a lot more mature. I have children of my own. Sure. I'm an adult, so obviously looking back on it, I am happy that I was able to bless.
You had a chance to explain yourself.
Okay.
Right.
So we know.
But y'all gonna stop talking about my boots.
I know, but I had to bring it up once I found out you got the boots replaced. I'm like, what are you so mad for in the first place? You got them replaced.
Mad. They was in the moment, of course I was
but
mad.
If you remember, Bree,
that's like somebody asking for your last chicken wing and them wings was good. Don't be asking for my last chicken wing.
That wasn't the last chicken wing. But if you remember, Bree, when we was talking about that specific subject, I was saying to you how I was commending you on your growth, your spiritual growth. That's why that came up. Remember? And then we just went in a tangent like we normally do, and I love it. I love it. This is us.
Well, so let's
talk about.
Like I said, the next go back and listen to this episode after it's published, after it's posted. And, give me your obvious answer if you find one.
Yeah.
And so maybe we can make a thing about it. But that's what I got for that. So, like I said, today's a special episode because we have our first guest here to join us. And we're very excited about having her on. You might as well go ahead and introduce her, Bree, because I feel like you've...
Okay.
Seen her around the block a couple of times.
I guess I have. For those who don't know her, some of you already do, I am here to present to you guys the one and only Reverend Taunjenette Poole. She is also known as my mom, Nana. She is a well-rounded woman. She is intelligent. She's all that in a bag of chips. But there you go, Mom. You can finish introducing yourselves and tell our viewers.
Welcome to the Journey Podcast.
More about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, we are happy to have you join us and our first guest, Shades of the Pre-Praise Report.
Yeah.
When we had you as one of the first guests.
She was one of the first guests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a Pre-Praise Report video series that we did in the past. Now we're taking it to a podcast, and here you are joining us again. So we're super excited.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited as well.
And I stole your face, so here you are. I look just like you now. I know what I'm going to look like when I
all y'all have the same face. It's
get a little bit older.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that what Reverend Fryer said today?
Yes, he did. He did.
You look like him, you act like him, you talk like him.
He did.
And I was like, yeah, you're right.
And the whole time Brandon's looking at me in my face. I was like, I don't know who you're looking at. I'm looking at the kids, like looking past me. I don't look like my mom.
So, Reverend Poole, I want to break it down for our listeners a little bit. I want you to give them kind of your come-up story. How, before you came into your practice at Holistic Counseling Services and everything that you do and all the staff that you have, let's hear about that before story. When did you kind of realize that, this is the career path that you were going to follow, and, how was it taking that path,
Okay, yeah.
in your start?
So I was going to say, where you want me to start? With marriage? Where we starting at? I didn't know where you was going with this thing. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Reverend Taunjenette Poole, and I am the owner of Holistic Counseling Services. I am a mental health therapist with a staff of 8, and we service South Jersey and Philadelphia area. We are virtual only now as a result of COVID, which we do love it because it affords us the ability to travel, but we work with children and families and individuals. And so your question about what kind of led me to take the journey of mental health is when I was working in early childhood education. My kids, I have 4 beautiful babies at the time, and I wanted to be able to go to work with them to make sure that they were safe. And so I was working in early childhood education, and I kind of started looking at a pattern of behavior in little kids 2 and 3 where I was seeing they weren't really grasping education and learning. And once I realized that there was a difference in children absorbing information versus not learning ABCs and the basics, once I started to look a little deeper, I realized that a lot of them were dealing with anxiety, depression, issues at home,
it's
drug
something
and
that
alcohols.
we've talked about before in the podcast. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We brought it up.
Yep.
And when I realized that it impacts them, their ability to learn, I said, well, you know what? I think I can be more helpful in that arena versus education and teaching. So I left education, went back to school with 4 babies, got a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in social work, a master's in theological studies, and from there went on to become a licensed clinical social worker. So 20 plus years in the field working, 10 plus years of education, and I'm excited to be here and excited to kind of tell the journey and, talk about what different stuff looks like.
10 years? I don't think I remember you being in school for 10 years.
It's 10 years.
I only remember the beginning stage, I guess, when you were just there for the first 4 years at Rowan.
Yeah.
Because you just never showed us that you were going through all of that. Like, we just always felt like she was so present.
Now, that's my question because, me and Bree, we have 3 kids now, and we work full time, and I can't imagine
by
working.
by herself.
Yeah, and I have Bree. We have each other to lean on,
Yeah.
and then that going through school, I'm assuming full time, and we're having to work and take care of kids, and it's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was a lot. 4 kids. We lived on Rowan University campus. All of my kids have been to Rowan 2 times. We lived on Rowan in family residential housing. They went to school at Rowan Daycare.
Yep.
And they went to school in the morning, and when they went to school, I went to school, and I left school and did work study at the university. I had to navigate, so I had to figure out what job on campus paid the most. Computer science was that, so I learned how to use computers. And I told a guy in the computer science, I was the only person that was a psychology major in the computer science department working on computers and teaching computers. And they taught me, and I taught teachers. And I was like, I had to do it. I had to be about it. And I went to bed every night at 2:00 a.m. After they put them to bed, I studied and fixed their dinner and got everything for the next day and kept it pushing. We humped it. It was like, let's go. That was our motto.
Yeah. Well, she did.
It
she
gives
did
me
it-
hope for the future because whew,
Yeah.
it's something else right now. I'll tell you that.
It ain't
No,
for the weak.
literally. Yeah.
Yeah, but she did it very gracefully because I don't remember it being like, I don't know. Now being put in the same age bracket
It's a
she
lot of
was,
work.
doing it with 4 kids, like having to deal with the stress and anxiety of all of it and still being able to give your kids the life, like, to make it seem like everything is going well and not showing them how stressed out you are.
Yeah.
I don't know how she did it.
Well, the thing is, it's like reaching a goal that's on a mountain. You
Yeah.
always have to climb, and the climb is not always easy.
Mhm.
But as you get higher and higher, and your faith and your hopes become more and more, because you see what you can start to see that goal. What I'm basically saying is that you don't have the kids pulling against you.
No.
You
Well,
know
they
what I'm
were
saying?
kids.
They were kids, and you
Yeah.
expect kids to do certain things
You do.
as children.
You do.
But then there's kids like today
Yeah.
that you look at the kids today and you go, what in the what?
Yeah. I think that's a lack
Why?
of guidance. I think it's
Yeah.
a lack of guidance in parenting.
Right.
You know, they don't know any better.
Yeah.
I think you could do better if you know better. I think
Yeah.
it's
I think
That's
that a lot of
understandable.
times it comes from watching other things.
Oh, yeah. That too.
And exposure, right?
Exactly. The
Yeah.
exposure, and then thinking that they can get away with certain things. And, some parents, they're into themselves and they doing their own thing. And
Yeah.
they forget that,
And that's what I was saying.
I have to put myself aside
Right.
because I have
Absolutely.
another being that I
Right.
have to
Absolutely.
live
Right.
for.
And that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying, for her to be going through school and having that mindset that she has to do this for her, but she's also doing it for her kids. She was there and 100% present for both things, like with the school and with us being, kids, young kids at the time,
It's fine.
So
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, but that's because the mindset and the belief was that in order for my babies to have a quality of life, I had to do better, right? I was when I went into college, I was on food stamps. I was, collecting welfare, and I wanted better for my children. I didn't want them to be as statistics, and I said, it is my responsibility to be able to take care of these 4 babies. And so after waking up one day and was like, you got 4 babies, you need to give them a better quality of life. Okay, what do I need to do? That was kind of the driver to make that happen. It didn't happen. It happened. I grew up with them
Right.
Right.
as a result of them, not
Right.
the other way around.
Okay.
Wow.
Hey.
So my question, I wanted to bring up, we talked about on a previous episode, your daughter.
My daughter, his
To-
mom didn't want him to watch it anymore with Blue's Clues because they was pushing for the, he's 2 years old.
Right.
And Blue's Clues was was his favorite show. It is actually still his favorite show if he can sneak and get it. You know what I mean? And they had this person on there who was clearly a guy but was dressed up like a woman. And even though it was a little cartoon character that was going on, and then it had the rainbow flag, and it was, she had a fit. She was
Yeah.
like, she did not want him to watch Blue's Clues anymore, even though that was just that one little segment, because now it's a thing as to this is what you support.
Right.
So
And at
my-
any given time,
what-
you can throw it back up there again.
What I was saying was, and this is my question to you. I do agree that it's important for children to understand, the LGBTQ community, their feelings and every, what they stand for. But I was saying that I do agree. I think that maybe that Blue's Clues age is a little young
Right.
to be exposed to that, and it should absolutely be the parent's choice on when
Absolutely.
that happens.
Yeah, I agree.
I was saying, more like that, maybe that, and then it came up about teaching it in school or something like that.
yeah, they're trying to put it in the curriculum.
And I
It
was
is
saying,
in the curriculum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
already.
like-
yeah.
maybe like that's like high school age, and
Yeah.
at least it happened in the school. So that's my question for you is, at what point do you think it's safe to start teaching younger kids, because it's everywhere in the world. You can't
Yeah.
escape it.
Yeah.
But you would want your kids, I guess, to learn that in a certain way, or the way that you want them. You want that to be presented to them.
And
you know?
in my opinion, can I have like the Christian aspect as well as, those who are not,
Yeah.
the whole- yes.
Yeah. My belief is that so there is a cultural belief that if I want something, if I like something, then I get to impose it on you. And that if you don't allow me to impose it on you, then therefore that means you're racist or discriminatory towards the ideas, whether that be, gay, if you can smoke weed, not smoke weed, all people's civil liberties, they believe that they have the right to impose it on you. And my response to that is that every parent and every family have the right to raise their children the way they see so fit. And so it should be choice. It's not that we discriminate or disrespect your beliefs, but I should have a choice to it. Just like immunization. If I want to wear my mask, I should be able to wear my mask and you not discriminate against me. That's your choice. If you choose not to, it's your choice to decide how you want to roll down on vaccination, non-vaccination. It's an individual choice to respect your liberty. And oftentimes when it comes to the LGBT community, that it's almost as if if you choose not to introduce that, that means therefore you're disrespecting. And I don't think it's this or that. I think it's this and that, right? I can respect your culture. I can respect your beliefs and your life choices, but you have to respect mine. And so I feel like oftentimes it's been looked at negatively for the church, the church and how we react, speaking from the Christian view, it's been looked on as if we don't want an introduction to our children early, or if we choose to when we want them to be introduced and how they introduce it, it then means that we're different, we're indifferent to it, or we discriminate against it and don't believe in it. And we have our Christian beliefs, and I'm entitled to my belief as just as you are as well, but that doesn't mean that I don't love and respect all people and their choices, but I want you to do the same for me. And I think that's the part that it's often taken away from our choice to say when and how I want to introduce this. I have a choice to choose how I want to introduce the conversation of sex to you, right? This is my children. So if I'm talking about sex, I have a choice of what age I want to introduce my children to, how I want them to if I'm going to read a book to them, if I'm going to tell them the story between men and women, if I'm going to choose Adam and Eve. It's my choice. And I think the same should apply when it comes to the communication about LGBTQ.
So I guess would the short answer be, which she pretty much took care of herself, is just turn it off. If
Yes,
you don't want
absolutely.
Just turn it off.
Absolutely. You choose how you expose your children and what to.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, at first, when you first told the story, I'll be honest, when you said that she just turned it off, I kind of I don't know. I didn't get upset at that, but I was just like, why? Like, what? You know what I mean? But I completely understand,
He's a baby.
It's up
He's
to
what,
you.
2?
He's 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And children, from one certain age up to another certain age, they're very impressionable.
Exactly.
Very impressionable.
Exactly. And that's why you have to be mindful of what you expose your children to.
Absolutely.
But
What they see, what they listen.
Violence, whatever it is. And
Everything.
I'm not saying that that's on the same level, but it's your choice as an individual person, right? I'm not saying.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Thinking about that, back in the day when I was a kid, boys played. We played they played cowboys and Indians.
Yeah.
And they always, somebody had the finger gun, and they was shooting each other, and they fall out and act like they die and stuff, and somehow or another they get resurrected. I don't know how that was. There wasn't no Jesus involved in that. But and then at another certain age, as an adult, we didn't allow our kids to play with any guns and stuff.
Absolutely. For 2 reasons, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And now you see kids that are, I think the youngest I've heard about was maybe a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old that was in Philly that had a gun and he shot himself.
Yes.
Yeah. One just shot their sister a couple
And
weeks
shot
ago.
somebody else, you know what I mean?
Irresponsible parent or whoever the gun
Absolutely.
owner is.
Yes.
That's irresponsible as far as the gun is concerned, having the gun around the house. But how did this kid learn to pick up the gun and to shoot it?
He
You know what
saw
I'm saying?
he saw you
playing
doing
with
it.
Nerf guns and all of
Yes.
those kind of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or they're
don't
just
know.
playing with it, and they have no idea, and it just accidentally happens.
Yeah.
That too.
You know what I mean?
Calls and go
It
off.
could
Yeah.
possibly
Something like
that
that.
could
That's
possibly
like-
be it too. But hey, these are the times.
It's the times you're living in.
But you got to
Times.
screen all things, right? You have to
Everything.
screen everything.
Everything.
Social media, friends, relationships. That you would not believe how many times I told my kids. I had to believe the kids didn't spend the night out overnight
Right.
to protect them, because I had seen and been exposed to so many horrific stories
Right.
of young girls being abused by going over a friend's house, and all
Absolutely.
the different
Yeah.
exposures to what someone else is doing in their homes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they can stay till 11:30, 12. You coming home. When everybody close their eyes, you coming home.
Yes.
Right. Right.
And as a parent now, I understand that. As a child, you're like, what? Mom, they're not doing nothing, because we're so naive of the
dangers
possibilities
that's
what could
out there.
happen.
So naive, so
Yes.
naive. I mean, like in a way, that's the good part about being a child. You don't see the world is all rainbows and sunshine and
Yes.
birds chirping and everything like that.
And you know
then when
why?
you cross over to an adulthood and you have your own kids, you see every single danger possible.
That's the protection of the parent. That
Exactly.
you don't see all of those things.
Yeah.
We didn't see poverty, and we were in poverty. My mom and us, we grew up on food stamps and
Yes.
things, Medicaid or whatnot. But we didn't see it that
I've
way.
you
heard
go.
so many stories
There you
of
go.
people who said, they've grown up in poverty and had no idea until they went somewhere and saw someone
Saw it.
with a little more or something that was nicer, and they're like,
Yes.
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 "What?"
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, they make
I
that.
don't
Yeah,
know if
the full
it's
shirt,
me, but did we grow up in some sort of poverty?
Absolutely.
Yes.
You guys were raised before I went to college, y'all. We were in Burlington City.
Okay.
Your sister and brother had to fight every day coming from school.
See,
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to say. I was going
Yeah,
to
they were
say.
latchkey
Yeah.
kids.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely, they were
I
in
was getting
poverty.
ready
We
to
were
say-
on one of the worst streets there was in Burlington City. The drugs were being sold on every corner.
Wow.
And I knew I had to get you guys out of that environment. I knew
Right.
I could not raise my kids in that environment.
See?
Absolutely.
I couldn't tell you today. If you see me now, I'm Miss Bougie Diva.
Bougie. I was about to say bougie Bree. Bougie Bree.
Miss
Okay.
Bougie Boot, 2 boot D.
And she's proud
Two
about it
boot
too.
Bree.
She ain't changing.
2 boots free.
There you go. Black
But
and I'm
yeah,
proud.
like even in my family, my grandmother and my aunts and them, we never knew that it was anything that had to do with any type of poverty. My grandmother had the big color television, and it was floor modeled and everything. And back in those days, yes, I was born in the '60s, y'all. Anybody that had, hey,
How
don't
many
go
years?
to count. Look at them. I wish you guys could see them. They, but in the if you had crystalware in Linux and crystalware in your house, you was doing something.
Yeah.
You were like almost the cream of the crop, And and back then my grandmother, my uncle, and my aunt, they all had chandeliers in the house. Crystal chandeliers, and my grandmother had crystal everywhere, and that it just seemed
That
like
defined wealth to them.
that divine, yeah.
And that's not always true, right? So that's
It's
just like
not.
sneakers in the hood. Sneakers define wealth. They want it to be. There's certain things that we accustom or in poverty that you connect to that says I'm not, to say to the world I'm not poor, right? But sometimes I think those are the very things that prevents you from being the difference between living well and having wealth.
Right.
And wealth affords you time to explore life.
Yeah.
Working day to day and paycheck to paycheck, you lose time, And so I think that's one of the things that holds African Americans back is the ability to expose and think about shoes and sneakers. I mean,
She talking to somebody. I don't
Yeah,
know who
she
it
talking
is.
to us over here.
because
struggling.
sneakers don't define you, right? I'm not paying $200 for a pair of sneakers,
Yeah, right,
and
yeah.
I can afford it, but I'm not doing that
Yeah.
because I'd rather take a trip to Europe.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
now
so that
go
defines
see something.
Yes, I want to be able to go on vacation, and
Right.
so you have to in your lives think about what's important to you. But the thing with money and wealth is, and people being able to strive to different things. In this generation is instant. They want instant everything. They want
microwave.
the big house.
Remember we talked about that.
They want the instant house. They want the purses. And if you knew that for a Louis Vuitton to make that purse is like $20, but they sell that purse for $2,000.
Right.
But guess who buys it? Middle class and lower class people, because that is an outward sign of wealth.
Yes. Yep.
And I don't need figures. That's just me personally. You always said, Taunjenette, you don't dress like you live. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not making nobody rich but me.
Okay.
Amen.
All right.
There you
That's
go.
right. That's right. That's
And I
right.
don't
And they
think
don't
clothes
understand
define
that.
you,
But the thing is, and like you said, because of that crazy way of thinking,
Yeah.
a lot of other people who have some wealth going on with them, they will shop in like the Salvation Armies and all
Yes.
that kind of stuff. But let you be the one to be in Salvation Army as a or one of your peers as a
Right.
kid find out your parents are in Salvation Army, and like you said, you got to fight.
Right.
You're going to have to fight.
Right.
Because now they're telling you that you're poor, and they don't know how you're living.
Exactly.
They have
don't
no
know.
idea how you're living. You going on vacation and going to these really, really nice places that they're not able to go to.
Right.
Because they have what you said, the $2,000 sneakers or the $200 sneakers on, the
Yeah.
$2,000 purse, that kind of a thing.
Right,
You know?
but you have to choose you have to choose what's important
Important
to
to
you.
you.
I'm not imposing my belief on anyone like with anything else, but I'm saying that a part of being patient and is being able to have a plan and working towards your plan. The younger generation, you have to be able to say, okay, what do we want at this stage of our lives? Do we want a house or do we want a nice car? You have to be able to choose and work there, and they don't really know that. They think they're just supposed to arrive where we are as parents, and you don't arrive overnight. It took me 40.
That perseverance pays off, I'll tell you that.
Consistent and perseverance. It takes time, and it takes a lot of work to get there.
Yeah.
And you're always looking to the next. You have to always look to the next stage.
stage.
Like, where am I gonna? My biggest belief is that all of your teens and your 20s is about perfecting your craft. Right, between by the time you're a little bitty kid to you hit 30, you should be figuring out what you want to do. From 30 to 40, you should be perfecting your craft. 40 to 50, you should be profiting from your craft. If you throw off any of those trajectories, when you get old and it's time to retire, you cannot. You got to keep working.
Yep.
Because you have not looked ahead.
Tell
And
me
you
about
didn't plan. And you have to
Tell me
plan.
about it.
You got to plan. And if you don't,
Oh,
if you
Jesus.
think you're supposed to have it all at 20, then you make decisions based on feelings
Yeah.
and not facts, and
Yep.
then you mess yourself up and
Yep.
you throw yourself off trajectory because you're trying to compete with people who are in a different stage of life.
Right.
So patience is required.
right,
It really takes
Be in
patience
your
and perseverance.
season.
Stay
Be
in your
season.
lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found online you guys were talking about all the expensive stuff and all that. I found and it made me think about it. For just a mere $1,015, you can get yourself a safety pin bracelet.
A what?
And a what?
Yep, it's what's that? How many? 6 safety pins that are linked together. And they're $1,000. That's all you need. You can get yourself a nice safety pin bracelet. Or for if you're not a baller like that, you can pay $539 for a zip tie bracelet. And it literally is a zip tie. That's a bracelet. And it's $500.
What is the
That's
who are the
ridiculous.
names?
$39.
Who are the names behind it?
But people,
that's the foolishness.
That's capitalism. You can say a rock is worth $1,000. It's
Yup.
you get to determine what things are worth. Now the $54,000 question is: are you gonna buy the rock? Who's
Yeah.
gonna buy it?
If they advertise it enough, they'll buy it.
Yes,
They will. They will.
If they blow it up enough,
Or
they'll buy it.
if not just that, let one person who has made a name for themselves go and buy it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And
a
then
name
that's
brand
it.
versus non-name brand, right? It's the
Right.
difference of how you ascribe wealth to it.
Yep.
And you need to figure it out, not let people tell you what was wealth and worth, give you self-worth. You need to figure that out. It need to be internal, not external.
I don't know
Right.
why it made me
Be
think
yourself,
about. I heard
though.
a story about it was like a toddler, maybe 3 or 4, who one day just started throwing paint at this poster, and I guess the parents were like, they're artsy or whatever, and they went to take it to a gallery, and someone who was famous went and commented on the portrait, and it literally looked like a child threw some paint on his paper, and he was selling these portraits for thousands and thousands of dollars.
Well, it's like that's always the joke with art. It's like
Thousands and thousands of dollars.
to most people, it
I
looks
was gonna
like
be like,
garbage.
Jalen, come in here
but-
and draw some stick figures so we can make some money, because you gotta go to college one day, and I ain't got time.
Right.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Yep. Well.
Yeah.
that's what So
But you know what? You just gotta commend them people for
the hustle.
making that right.
Absolutely.
Don't hate the
no, I'm hating.
No, don't hate.
No, I'm hating because my kids got plenty of. Look at the drawings on it. Look.
I
That's
know,
art
and
right
I
there.
love it. I
Look at
want to
you.
buy
Look
it.
at
You got to
That's
just market
art
it.
right there.
Market it
Just
and sell
market
it.
it
on
Sell
Facebook
it.
Marketplace.
Listen, you
I
can
think
sell
Julian's
Jalen and
picture.
Junie any day.
That's right.
They can be artists.
Julian's picture up there with the blue flower and the green.
That was my Mother's
I
Day
love
gift.
it. I
That's
absolutely
funny.
love it.
Isn't he cute?
Yes.
So, guys, I got a doozy for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
We always talk about. Let's dive in and talk about it. Let's talk about infidelity. Okay, all you listeners, this is the part of the episode we promised would deliver on our deep dive conversations. Our guest talks in depth about sexual addictions and how it is directly linked to infidelity in relationships. From this point of the episode to the end, some of the language used may not be suitable for sensitive ears. If you're not sure you want to listen, it's okay. You can just skip ahead to the next episode. We'll see you then. If you're going to stick around, tighten those seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Good topic.
It is a good topic. It's something that I want to get into. I feel like I don't know where to start. I really don't. So
The causes of it,
Yeah,
or
so-
do you want to go to
Sure,
the
no,
results
let's-
of it? Which
no-
way you want to go?
What? All right, let's take it in baby steps.
When you say infidelity, do you mean infidelity in a sense of
You cheating? Why you cheating on me, bro?
Cheating, okay, or infidelity in a sense of thinking about another person outside of your marriage, or infidelity like
Okay, is that not the same
shacking
thing?
up with somebody before marriage?
Is that not
Like,
the same thing?
What do you mean by infidelity? Where do you
that's a
want
good
to
point.
start?
So, are you asking me, is it a difference between fantasizing about someone else and
Correct.
actually cheating on your partner?
Correct. Is there a difference?
No.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
If emotional cheating
Why, you got something to
and
say?
physically, sexually cheating by engaging in any type of touching or sexting is all cheating. That's
So
that's how I
you
define
tell
it.
me. So what you're saying to me is that if a guy has a thing for Janet Jackson, I'll say, because that she was supposed to
Okay.
be like
Your age, yeah,
right.
your group. Mhm.
So if they thinking about Janet Jackson and
Mm-hmm.
they fantasizing about her, it's considered cheating,
So
even though he knows that he's not going to be with her.
Well, so let's look at it from two perspectives. That's
Okay.
a good point. So if someone who just got a poster on the wall and they're a teenager or the person, whether it be Beyonce, Janet Jackson, whoever, right? And they're just looking at that poster and they're saying, wow, she's beautiful, and they're looking at her beauty. No, that's not cheating, right?
Right.
But if he engages in fantasizing and doing physical things to himself, and you might want to do a disclaimer here.
Oh, it's been put in.
Okay. Well, if he is masturbating or fantasizing about Janet Jackson, then in the sense of the world, I don't think it's cheating. But in the sense of God, yes, it is, because if a man thinketh, so is he. So if you think evil in your intention, or if you're masturbating or having sexual ideas about someone, then yes, that is infidelity and cheating, because your eyes and your thoughts should be of your wife only.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right, but that could become a porn addiction as well. So it depends on where you are. If you're just looking at a poster, or if you walk by and look at a woman,
Right.
and your wife ain't there with you when you look,
Right.
and you say to yourself, "Oh, she cute," is that okay? Yeah, but is that what men usually think of?
You don't
Absolutely
take it
not.
any further than
Yes.
no harm, no foul.
If it's on an observation level only, then absolutely not. That's
I
not
think me
cheating.
and Brandon are the type to say, "Oh, she cute" at the same time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's observation.
We just compliment. Oh wow.
I know a lot
She's
of
cute.
women that
She's
will
really
disagree
pretty.
with that. They don't want their husband or their man looking
To
at
even
any
look.
female.
Absolutely
To
not, because
even
we
look.
know that men are they go by what they see.
Visual.
They're visual. Yes, absolutely. So
Females too. Break.
can that be
I mind my business.
a beginning door to other trouble? Absolutely. But some people are not. Some people are okay with their husbands watching porn. But that's a door to a whole lot of other
okay.
issues.
Another
Wow.
conversation for another day.
That's not
Okay, that's fine.
Is it?
Wow, that's
I feel like
funny.
we're having a conversation right now. But
Well, no,
go ahead.
that's funny, because as you were saying that, I've never really thought about it like that. I remember when I was married to my husband, and he knew that I liked guys that weightlifters, and he would actually drive me past this weightlifting place where the guys would be out there, lifting weights, because he knew that I liked weightlifting. But it wasn't a sexual thing. It was just, I just liked seeing them lift weights. But he was a weightlifter too, so. But he didn't look like they looked. I liked his look better, because like they were getting ready to compete in these different
Right.
competitions and stuff.
Sure.
So they had the ripples in their neck and.
Right.
But I liked. I don't know. Maybe it was just the thing about them the
Lifting.
barbells. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I had a thing for barbells.
I did,
Maybe it was the hardware, y'all. I don't know.
digress.
The hardware.
Yeah, right.
I digress. I don't know. Yeah, but no, it was just so funny because there was a gym, a weightlifting gym, not too far from where he lived at, and he took me around there just so that I could see them.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Look, you know." But it was
Oh, that's cool. You know what I mean?
That's just observation. I think it depends on what your intent. I think your intent and your heart means everything, right?
right.
I think that's the determinant between if you cross the line or not.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I have a client that said that, hey, it's okay for me to sex other women. It's okay for me to go on sites and send pictures. It's okay for me. This is just something I do.
No,
And he thought it was okay.
it's not okay.
And she was upset and did not want to engage in intimacy, in sexual relationship with him as a result of all of different partners he's talked to. And he said, well, I don't understand what the problem is.
Does he not like sexualize them, or
Absolutely.
it is that
sexting.
for him?
Absolutely. He has a porn addiction and a love addiction, which are two different things, and I can definitely explain the difference.
He has a what?
He has a porn
love
addiction
addiction.
and a love addiction.
A love addiction.
Yes, that is a thing.
Please explain
I'm
that.
addicted to loving you, right? That's
Oh.
good, right?
Oh,
That is
sir.
sickening.
Let me
No,
tell
let's hear
you
the
what, let me
definition.
tell
Let's
you-
hear the definition first. Hold on. Let's hear the definition. Go ahead.
Goodness.
So a love addiction is when people get caught up in the beginning stages of like love bombing and the honeymoon period of a relationship.
Okay.
And so they are infatuated with meeting someone, getting to know them in that first 3 months. They're enticed by that, but they have they lack the capacity or the ability to maintain a long-term relationship.
I was going to say
And
so it gets
no
real.
commitment.
Right. They don't do
No
well with commitment.
commitment.
Absolute
No,
love, commitment,
we
trust.
we don't have that.
They don't have that. So because it's all about the initial stages. And so they have all these relationships and they go sour.
11 years strong over here, so
All right.
we'll
all
pass
right.
that point.
Okay. So no, you don't have a love addiction.
No.
You just love each other deeply.
Yes.
Wow. I had no idea that was a
Yes,
thing.
there's some men who
Very
engage
interesting.
in talking and flirting with women, and it's all about the love addiction. And here's the thing: love addiction and sex addictions create the same serotonins as alcohol, drugs within your
Really?
brain. Yes, they get the
Really?
same high.
So
Wow.
a man
Yeah.
who does that, are they considered to be that stigma of the guy who's the what's the word?
Narcissistic.
Yes.
So narcissists do have often it's a comorbidity, which means it goes along with it.
Yeah.
Where they do often engage in love addiction, but not always.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
separate. And then porn addiction is just like any other drug or any other addiction. You have to up it. So you might when you
Right.
6, 7, however you
You
when
started,
you first
you gotta
engage
put more to
watching
it.
porn, most young guys and girls, it's about
Mm-hmm.
the statistics shows that it's about the same.
It goes from books.
55% of men
Goes
have
from
porn
books
addiction.
to movies.
Books
45
to movies. What is this?
Yeah.
1973?
Oh well.
Well, it's online now, so it makes it more,
Okay,
it's more accessible.
Books is books. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say
Beauty
it's
Max
something
and the-
saint.
It's okay.
That's going
I
sour.
know, it's so cute. It's more easily accessible
Books.
now.
That's why I love
There's
this
no
show.
books. There's no
I
books.
love this show.
So porn you can start off 7, 8, 9, as early as 6-year-olds. I've had 6-year-olds.
What?
6? Hold the phone.
Yes.
Hold the phone.
Yeah.
6.
You have
Yeah.
to watch what your children look at online.
Jalen will be 6 in 2 years.
That is correct.
Can
I've
you
had
imagine?
6-year-olds. Yes.
Well, this is the thing.
I
but
would literally cry in a
would
corner.
throw
if you
him in
think
the
about
trash.
it, but this is the thing. Have you ever really watched your children?
Yeah.
Have you watched your children in the bathtub and things like? They actually fondle themselves at ages of 1.5, 2 years old. 2 years old.
What's
They
it-
touching
but
and
that's
feeling.
the
I think that's,
And it-
I think that's different. That's just
that's
because
the
it's an
developmental-
appendage.
That's developmental
It's an
stages.
appendage.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're playing with it. It's something that I can touch and feel. And it's
Yes, that's
sticking
early.
out of it.
That's early exposure. That's
Yeah.
we call that the phallic stage. So that's like the potty training age. First, they're oral when they're sucking their bottles, and then you go to the phallic stage where you're touching your body. So that's just a discovery of your body. It's not sexual. It's not for. It does causes pleasure to them, but it's not.
Right, that's
They're
what I'm
not
saying.
exploring sexual behavior. You see what I'm saying? It's more like he said, touching, just
different
touching
when
and feeling
you-
yourself. Yeah,
when you find
It's just a discovery stage.
it is. It's
Like,
discovery.
have you ever noticed grown men?
Oh no, I'm not saying that it's. I'm not saying that it's porn. I'm saying that it feels good to them.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it does, but it's not. It's not for the purpose of arousal or sexual arousal. It's not the same.
They're
Yeah.
just
Different thing.
they're finding stuff out.
Yeah,
This is new. I feel that's more of what that is.
it is.
Versus a 6-year-old who's maybe going to Google. That
Right.
just blows my mind.
Well, sometimes the kids get they send them things, right? If you search a word and you'll get pop-ups on your phones and on your
Yeah.
tablets,
right,
and so
right.
then they get exposed to it.
Or their friends sending them stuff. Because kids
Right.
have phones like super
Or they'll
early
hear
now.
a word and they'll go home and search the word because they don't know what it is,
Right.
and then all these pop-ups start happening. That's what happened to a kid he was 8. I was working with in therapy to try to put parameters around this kid and teach her the true reason and purpose of sexual engagement between a husband and wife is how her parents wanted to define it to her, and that this wasn't age appropriate for her. And she had a sex addiction where we had to make sure she had to have covenant eyes on all of her tablets, everything that would block.
But I feel like that should be already done before you give a tablet or a phone to a child. You
I
shouldn't
agree.
just give a child something free range, knowing that a lot of these websites have those type of inappropriate pop-ups or advertisements on
Absolutely.
them. That's why you need to monitor what your kids are watching and what they're looking at. I don't know about me personally. I don't think the kids should have private tablets or phones until they are, at least in school.
I think you should watch whatever you. I think that's an individual choice.
Yeah.
But it needs to be monitored and
That's
screened.
just me as
Right.
a, my
I was
as
gonna
with
say
my kids.
Yes.
pre-watch it.
Yeah.
Pre-watch it because I know where I work at now. I do movie night on Friday nights for the kids there. Well, it's supposed to be for everybody, but it's basically been for the kids more so than anything. And I will sit through the whole cartoon and watch the whole entire thing because I'm looking for certain things on there, certain words and stuff, because kids are
never know.
impressionable.
Yeah, some of these
They are
some of these kids
impressionable.
movies have cuss words in them.
Yes.
Like the children's movies.
Yeah.
Junie been he pick up the bad every single time. I don't
Yes.
understand it. He always picks up
easy to pick up the bad words.
Yes.
And he put it in a formulated sentence like he know what it means. And I'd be like, I don't understand. Like, where are you getting this stuff from?
Because it sounds good.
Exactly.
It sounds good.
Like,
It just sounds good.
We've certainly been guilty of it. There's been plenty of times where we just find a cartoon on the kids' Netflix
Just turn
and
it on.
think it's okay and
yeah.
hit play.
And then
And we come back in and a witch is getting crucified on a candy cane.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Right.
what is
kind
going
of-
on?
Yeah.
The
And
whole
the
that-
innuendos and the
Yeah.
innuendos behind certain things.
Yes.
And let's
have to
just
watch
face
your
it.
kids,
Sometimes, and if y'all haven't experienced it yet, keep on as us seasoned salted saints say, keep on living and you will.
Yeah.
Yep.
Keep on living and you will. But the thing is, kids are more aware of a lot of stuff now.
Right.
They know stuff that how
You don't think they know.
what in the how
Yeah.
did you know that? You
Right.
know, they're
Right.
even kids at certain ages, they talk better than we do.
Yeah.
They can hold great conversations with words that you just don't think that they would know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the other day, going off of that funny story, we were in the car and I was taking Jalen on like a mommy and son date. He gets in the car, he's like, all right, Mom, so we're going to get in the car and you're going to turn on your slow jams. I said, my slow jams?
see,
What? And he said, mm-hmm. And then you're going to close your eyes and you're going to meditate.
meditate.
Said, meditate? Where are you getting this from?
Did he not say
Meditate.
Did he not say close your eyes
You're going to
and meditate?
close your eyes and
All right,
meditate.
so he knows that a part of meditation for you is your eyes being closed, which is how meditation. Most people meditate with their
Listen.
eyes closed. So how in the world did he know about some meditation?
Because they're observant.
His teacher,
Right.
his favorite teacher is also his godmom. Whenever she gets like stressed out, she's like, I need to go meditate. Let me go here and close my eyes and meditate. So he picks up everything she says. I call her like,
Sponge.
Georgia, what is Jalen talking about? I need to go meditate. Telling me what I need to do. But he picks up.
Because he said
He
his
is-
mom is stressed out. Go meditate.
Yes.
Put your slow jams on.
Go put your slow jams
close
on.
your eyes and meditate.
There you go. I'm
He's
like,
smart. He notices everything.
he does,
Yeah.
he does. And then he comes in the house every day. He looks at the portrait we have on the wall, and there's a picture of me and Brendan from the wedding. And we're kissing in the wedding. Obviously, I had my wedding dress on. He has a suit. So one day he's like, all right, Mommy, so we're going to go to the church. I'm going to put on my suit. You're going to put on your princess dress, and we're going to get married.
How cute is
Then
that?
he said, you going to marry me, Mom? I said, I'll marry you then. that's fine. He said, that's a deal. Okay, let's go to church. And then now every time Junie wants a kiss, he's like, Mom, are we married? Mom, we married? I said, I guess so. We married. every time you give me a kiss on my cheek. Every time. So that's their
What's going to
idea
happen
of
when he come
married.
home at the? How old is he now?
Who, Junie?
Yeah.
He'll be 3 tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Wow.
Yes.
But what's going to happen? What are you going to say when he comes home?
With a
when
girl?
he comes home when he's 5 years old and say, "Mom, I'm married."
Married too.
Right.
Who you kissing?
Forgetting all about
There you go.
because that's what he thinks.
That's
that
what he
he's-
thinks, right?
Yeah, I remember. I believe it was something that was on TV, where, and I think that it happened in my family as I was growing up, where the girl got kissed and came home and said that she was pregnant.
I saw that.
Right, she was pregnant because that's what they was telling.
If you kiss, you're gonna get pregnant.
Right.
Right.
Which brings me, Reverend Poole, to teaching our children the correct things. You know what I mean? Because some things that we say, they're just incorrect to tell them. And so it confuses them. You know what I mean?
Like little sayings like that.
Little things like that. Like, if your boy kiss you, you mess around, you're going to get pregnant.
Step on
Which
a
is
crack, break your mama's back.
Which is you know what
You
anyway.
talk about
That's a slogan.
Let's not talk about
That's
that.
a little different.
But no, that's a little different. That's a game. But I mean, just on a serious note, because you're trying to deter them from doing certain things, why not just be open and honest with them as opposed to saying things like that and then they scared to come home or they're scared to talk to you because some boy kissed them.
Right.
No doubt on their cheek and they done got pregnant.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it's important that you teach your kids and you address things. And I know that's hard, but, just piggybacking on this topic of porn, I think it's important that you tell your kids, hey, if you see something that pops up, it's inappropriate, I want you to let mommy know because this is stuff you don't need to watch. Just like Jalen. Jalen knows if he's watching a YouTube video and there's fighting, Mama, this is too bad. This got violence in it. We can't do
I'm
this.
always yelling at him
because they know they've been told this is something you don't do. And so if you don't tell your kids, they don't know better, right?
Right.
I have a client who I'm working with, their whole family, a beautiful family. And the mom told the first 2 daughters, she basically taught them what good touch, bad touch is. Don't let anybody touch you in your private parts. And they defined them. And she went on to define if someone makes you feel icky or not well, or you feel, I need you to let mommy know. Well, the first 2 daughters were safe. But when it got to the baby, she never had a conversation with the baby about these things. And the baby is the one that she was actually molested by someone in their family. And so in our conversation a couple weeks ago, we realized that they protected the baby by not telling her things about the world.
They were trying to.
They were trying. They thought they were protecting her, and
Right.
ultimately they set her up.
And
It did the opposite of it. And trying to shield her from the real world, it only made her more vulnerable to the world. And so I believe parents' jobs are to talk about everything. I had 1,000 conversations with my daughters and my sons.
Right.
Because I want you to know, and the statistics says 1 in 3 women have been molested or touched inappropriately or raped.
Yeah.
The statistics for boys is 1 in 4. It's not a big difference. It's not a big difference. And the people who do it is the ones that's closest to you. It's not a stranger.
Right.
So it's friends, it's family members, and it's people around you that you trust. And so you have to have those conversations. To let them be aware of it and let them have a voice. It's enabling their voices, right? My grandson say all the time, I just don't want to be touched. I'm like, you don't want to be touched? And so we have to allow children to have a voice and say, don't touch me, because if you touch me, then what are you supposed to do? Scream. And so if I say, give me a hug, no, Nana, I don't want to be touched. I'm like, okay,
You
no
gotta
problem.
respect that.
You have to teach them body choice.
The same thing happened at school with Junie. Because I've heard you teach him things like that, and I've had the conversation. Well, not in depth because he's only 2, but the one day he's hard headed. But the one day his teacher was trying to change him. He's like, "Get off of me! Don't touch me! I don't want to be touched."
Yes.
So they said, "Okay, well, we won't touch you." 2 minutes later, he's like, I pooped my diaper, so can you change me? She's like, "Well, Junie, you want me to change you now?"
No, you don't want to be
And
touched.
there you go.
Here's the diaper. Go clean yourself.
There you go.
Yeah.
But
Mr. Not Touch.
But then that comes right. I pooped, not poop, but I pooped.
Really?
Yes.
If you could say a full sentence,
Right,
telling
I'm
me
gonna
what you
say,
did in your diaper, you need to be
didn't-
using the toilet at
yes.
that. But just like, it was a conversation I had with my mom because when that situation happened, I didn't know if I should talk to him about being mean to his teachers or yelling. But then I talked to his teachers and I talked to you, and it's like you have to respect children's boundaries.
Yep.
It's at a certain age where, because I was a teacher at one point, it's like, okay, I think 2 and 3, you should be like, okay, I'm going to change your diaper. Can I change your diaper?
Yeah.
You have to like not ask for permission, but let them know what's going on so that they have those boundaries. You know what I mean? Infant stage, they
Well,
don't really
you know
know what's
what?
going on. You just change them.
My sister, what she does, and my daughter for that matter, and my granddaughter, they all say to Adonis, "It's pampy time.
Yeah.
It's pampy time."
Yeah.
Let them know ahead of
what's
time
going on.
what's getting ready to happen.
Right,
Right. Of course, he runs away the opposite
exactly.
way. It's pampy time, and then there's times once in a blue moon, he'll
Right.
just come on and get his pamper changed with no in most of the time he running in the opposite direction,
Yeah.
and he's laughing because it's
He
pampy
thinks
time.
it's funny.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. With this potty training thing, what is the disconnect in this boy's head that if he
don't.
has an accident, right? Let's say he, number 2 in the pamper, in the pull up, and I say, where are you supposed to poop? On the potty. Who are you supposed to tell when you had to poop you on the potty? Mommy or daddy? But you sat in your room for the past half hour, and now this place
corner.
smells like the zoo. Where's the disconnect? You're giving me the right answers, but then you
behavior.
don't do it.
It's a pattern of behavior. So
Oh,
he's
so it's
got-
just bad. Got it.
No,
Got
that's not what I'm saying.
Got
no,
it.
No,
I knew
no,
it.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he, for all of his life, for the last 2 years, his pamper, he goes in the corner and he hides. And the reason he hides is because he knows it smells bad. And he knows that, hey, my dad and my mom wants me to go to the potty, but I got to get used to that behavior. So he's got to switch over. It's a developmental stage.
Well, we gonna switch it on over. I tell you that. I'm getting tired of changing them
not-
diapers.
Just to let our viewers know, this has nothing to do with infidelity, but we have such a good time.
It does not.
Oh yeah, we're supposed to be talking about infidelity.
Infidelity,
My bad.
but we have such a good time. I
My
hope this stuff is
bad.
informational to you all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, that's the point.
Yes.
If you can gain some knowledge here or
Why not?
from infidelity
Yes.
to potty training, we talk about it
Yes.
here on the
Yes.
Journey podcast.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Loretta, we need you.
I do. Well, we didn't even get. You asked the first question as soon as I brought it up, and I did want to get to it. The causes. What causes a couple to want to cheat on each other?
So-
How does it start? Where? What are the infancy signs? Because the big things. I feel like, but what those first little signs that something is wrong?
Okay. So someone can enter a marriage and don't have the belief in commitment, right? They believe I can still do this. So that's one. Somebody can, either male or female, think, okay, I have a right to cheat whenever you make me mad or I'm upset with you or you don't give me what I want. That's one. So that's a mindset. The man I was talking about had a mindset of, hey, I can do this. Porn is not cheating. Sexting is not cheating. Flirting with women and talking to women and telling them they're beautiful is not cheating. So even though his wife said, I don't like this and I think it's disrespectful, he didn't respect his wife and he didn't respect the sanctity of marriage. And so he thought he was entitled to do this. So we have a big problem with him, right? So that's mindset. Secondary to that is couple might enter marriage and love each other, and as they get into the daily lives of raising kids and worrying about money and doing things, the communication breaks down. That's the common way. And as communication break down, they're focusing so much on the business of the marriage, taking care of the bills, taking care of the children, taking care of running people to games and stuff like that. They don't focus on the relationship. And so when you're focused on the business of the marriage and not the relationship and letting it be primary each and every day, checking in with each other, seeing how you do, the first time somebody comes around at the gym or someone starts giving you attention, it can easily become that. That's typical.
And that's male
typical
and
house.
female.
Absolutely.
That's male and female.
Absolutely.
But
So many
do
marriages
you
have been
agree with? Do you agree with?
That's your foot I'm touching. I'm sorry.
I know.
Do you
He
feel me
playing,
tapping?
y'all. He playing footsies up
Oh,
under the
Lord.
table. I'm trying to
Infidelity.
ignore him. Infidelity.
We're talking about infidelity. I thought it was the chair, the
Listen,
foot. Oh,
hey,
that's-
now you touching my leg. Come on now. Jeez.
I'm
Miss
sorry.
Tanya. You're going to have to go, Miss Tanya.
I know, right?
I'm joking.
My
Only if I
bad.
could take Julian with me.
Oh, you can have all
Oh,
of
you
them.
can take your kids now.
No,
And then
but
when you finish potty training, bring them back.
Reverend Reverend Poole, my question to you is: do you? There's a saying that how you caught him is how you catch him.
That's how you lose them?
Keep them.
Keep him.
Oh,
right.
oh.
Yeah.
Do you?
How you lose 'em?
Okay, so
That's the saying
no,
too.
how you keep them. So in other words, if you were paying, I'm going to use you and Bree as an instance. Although
Okay.
we know that you guys are in love, Okay, Julian, you saying something, but if you paid Bree compliments or she paid you compliments all the time when you would see her, when you were just trying to get to know her, and then once you started the court dating, once you started dating, you still kept those things up, but then now that you got married, you're not paying any more compliments or anything, then something.
It's a disconnect.
Right.
Disconnect
There's a
happens.
disconnect
Yeah.
there. She's not getting what she got from you
In the
from
dating
day
stage.
one. Same way that,
Right.
the other way around.
Right.
You paid him compliments. You told him how handsome he was. And
Right.
especially when oh my goodness, when you dress up, that thing just does something to me. But then now that he's not dressing up as often or whatever, you're not paying him any more compliments.
Yeah.
So my question to you, like I said, do you believe that how you caught him is how you with all the things that you did when you caught him is all the things that you should do to keep him?
Absolutely. Complacency is the point, right? Staying committed to the marriage and making it primary, and it is important. You have to spend quality time with each other. You have to have an understanding. You have to have trust. You got to have commitment that no matter what we're going through, we're going to work it out and we're going to get through it together. That's a complete opposite of what we call people who I want to win the argument. So I want to be right and you got to be wrong. So everything is an argument, right? And so I think one of the biggest things in marriage is to know that the person loves you and that no matter what we go through, we're going to get through it. That's
Together,
what the Bible
yeah.
means by love covers a multitude of
Sins, right.
So it covers all my faults because
Yeah.
we have good, bad, and ugly and indifferent. All of us do. And so you can't go into a marriage thinking, oh, it's going to be perfect because it won't be.
It won't.
You can't go into a
Absolutely
marriage
not.
thinking it's going to be 50-50 because it won't be. Sometimes you're going to do 40 and the other person's going to do 60. Sometimes you're going to be doing 70 and it may be 30. It varies. And on the turns in life, you got to stay committed to the common goal, which is we are going to get through whatever we go through in life together. We're
right.
on the same team.
Right.
And so sometimes couples get from team until they go into I, and they become frustrated with either working too hard or they're not getting the things they want. Some people want to go on the trips as soon as they get married. That's not possible. Some people want to be able to drive the fancy cars and BMWs. That's sometimes not possible in the very beginning because you're building life and you got to get to those salaries and incomes that you can afford
That's
that
where the
lifestyle.
goals- the
And so they get
goals,
upset
yeah.
and they become
Right.
frustrated. And so then they justify their wrong and they say, well, you know what? I can't have what I want, so I'm going to do this. And they make justifications for it. And that's where it starts slipping in. But all sin begins in the mind. You think it first before you do it.
And also, it's about a lot of communication. Because, like I said, I know that Jesse liked my cooking. He loved my cooking. And he was my hero. But I never communicated that to him. So a lot of times when people would say, oh, I'm going to just say, hypothetically, I need this light bulb done in my house and I can't do it and I don't have anybody to do it. And Jesse could do it. Well, I never knew that he thought that I was like just basically putting him out there almost like a slave. That's not what it was for me. He was my hero. And he could do anything. He was like my superhero. And I'm like, I'm busy sharing him with everybody else. Like, Jesse could do that. Like, dun 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 dun. Jesse could do that.
You're so
And
proud
that
of
was
him
the-
because he
right,
has
I'm
all
so
these
proud of
skills.
him. And I didn't realize that it wasn't like that for him.
Yeah, he didn't like
But he
doing
didn't
that.
And I felt
communicate it either, right?
he never communicated it until we were broke up and we just happened to be, chit chatting one time when he came down. And when he said it, I was like, wow. But then in the interim of it all, I never said to him, you're my hero and I think you could do anything, and then maybe when I was pushing him out there to do stuff for people, he would understand, and it hurt my feelings that he didn't, that I didn't communicate to him. And this is what part of our breakdown of our marriage was because he didn't feel like, I felt like I was pushing him out there. So I'm thinking that, I'm appreciating him in that aspect because he could do anything. What? They can't do that. Jesse could do it. But he didn't see it like that. So the communication has to be it's a big part of it. Mm-hmm. You knowing how the other y'all knowing how you feel towards each other.
Mm-hmm. That's an ongoing checking in with each other is ongoing. The one thing I tell marriage is a lot of work. Yeah. You got to constantly know how the other person is doing, feeling, and seek to understand that. It takes constant work. Okay,
and
how
still
you
take care of kids in the middle of it.
Absolutely. Hey, how you doing? How was your day? I call
right.
it check-ins.
Yes.
You got to be checking in real time and knowing how that person is feeling. And when you know that your partner is not feeling well, if they're frustrated, angry, or tired, then it's not time to have deep conversations. But it's important to make sure that person know that they're quality and that they're important and that you can yield and all the world stops for them. They have to stay. And that's hard raising kids. That's how you easily get into the work stage. And then you be like, oh, you all right. You'll be all right. I'll get to you after. I'm tired. Don't you understand? I'm tired. I'll get to you later.
But just like you said, but with the check-in part of it, I know that maybe some people, I'm just going to say people because I can't just put it on men because it's women too. If you do a lot of checking in and they feel like you're insecure.
No, but how you doing it? No, that's open.
No, I'm saying like with checking in, like maybe calling that person or at lunchtime or, checking in every every 3 or I'll say twice a day. Because I think that if you check in every hour, then there's a problem. It could be overbearing for some people.
But that's a part of communication, just asking. Hey, you want to touch base how many times a day? What's good for you in the morning on the way to work, on my lunch break? What's good for you? Oh, just call me. Some people don't care.
Right,
some people talk all day long. Other people say, hey, listen, my job is very strenuous. I don't want to talk when I'm at work. I'll call you when I can. Okay. I have a client that his wife called him 96 times while he was at work.
Excuse
96?
96
Hold
times.
the
This is what I'm saying.
Hold the phone again.
This is exactly what I'm trying to get you
But that's not
to
the
say.
same. That's not the same.
Brandon would lose his...
Anybody would. Why are you calling me that many times? But that's exactly what I'm trying to get you to say.
But that's insecurity. 96 times. So there's a difference in 2 to 3 times.
What did
even
he do
4 to 5.
beforehand that
He
made
said,
her?
I can't handle it. Nothing. That was normal for her to call him that many times because she's that insecure. And that was one of the things that we were working on in couples counseling. Like, you calling him that many times is going to accomplish what? He's like, I can't do work.
Maybe something happened in her.
Absolutely not.
Nothing happened in
Absolutely not. She has a problem. She has a problem.
Oh.
She's very insecure. And it's made up in her mind. Because there actually is no infidelity in this relationship. It's just all made up in her mind.
No, I'm saying maybe something happened to her prior to them being a couple together.
No, it's her insecurity.
It's just her insecurity.
She's insecure and she believes because she doesn't feel her own self-worth. So she fears that she's not good enough for him. Okay. And so her fear is that someone else will take him. And so she believes that she tries to control everything he does. From how much money he has in his pocket, where he goes, can he go to the gym, how long it takes him to get home from work. She clocks everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which will bring on what? Infidelity.
Well,
which could possibly bring on
Mm-hmm.
infidelity.
That's why she's got to stop it. And
She
she has
does.
services,
Absolutely.
holistic counseling services.
Yes.
To accomplish that.
She recognizes that her fear is not valid.
Mm-hmm.
She recognizes it and she says it.
Okay.
But she often goes back into it. It's more out of fear.
See,
Right.
this is why is why premarital counseling is
It's so
important.
Absolutely
important.
It is.
Because trying to figure all that stuff out
While married?
you're doing the thing.
Yeah.
It's just so
So
hard.
with that being said, how much time do you think it should take a couple before they get married to have premarital counseling? How much time do you think
it
they
varies
should have?
based on what the presenting issues are, right? If you got childhood trauma,
Yeah.
you ain't gonna get married in 6 weeks. You got to deal with your issues first because you're bringing all that baggage into the marriage.
Right.
But if you come in and it varies. It could be anywhere between 6 months to 6 weeks. It depends on what you come into. If the heart of the issue is like abandonment issues. If you were adopted, or if you had childhood trauma, severe trauma like alcohol, drug abuse, and all that stuff, you need time to work out your own issues before you come into a marriage because it will carry over into the marriage and it will mess up communication. Communication is already difficult between men and women. Right. Number one, men usually think intellectual. Women are first emotional. And so it takes a minute for y'all to cross over and land at the same page. When you tell a man about a situation, he's like, okay, how can I fix it? I don't. And so women, we're circling, talking about our emotions, and they're like, okay, what are we talking about?
They're
here?
logical.
They're logical first. Where we're first emotions, we're venting our emotions, and then we become logical. And so you can have a 15-minute conversation with a woman, and men don't even know what they're talking about. Like, well, what's the key point here? When we're just venting, and so it takes a minute for y'all you have to know that first, and then it takes a minute for you to land on the same page where he can understand how she's feeling and she can understand how he's feeling. So that's about a 45-minute conversation.
I'm about to throw this microphone across the room because that was our whole last weekend, and we eventually came to a common ground.
Yes.
But it just took the way
all
there,
around,
it's
more
difficult.
up and down the mountain and all around. It was just it was like a roller coaster ride from.
It is, and what I usually tell men, because y'all don't have the emotional fortitude to take the ride, is just jump in the middle and be like, okay, what's your point here? But give her a minute to circle around the bend.
Yeah, because don't cut me off.
And land the plane. And when you land the plane, say, okay, so let me make sure I got this right. What you're trying to say to me is this.
Yeah.
And
I've heard that before.
Or, hey, tell me what the key point of what you want me to get from this. Because if you try to take
what's
the
your
ride,
point? Like,
no, you can't do that.
That's the issue right there.
What's the point? What is the
that's
point?
my thing,
Right.
though. Tell me what you need. I can't.
But
like,
you got to do patient. You got to do it patiently.
I don't need all the other stuff. Just tell me what you want.
She needs you to listen
Such
to the
a man.
You want me to?
Such a man.
She
want me to
needs
do
you
what?
to be patient
I can
and
do
listen to
whatever
her
you need.
circle the bend with the plane. I feel like, you know how your plane go in a circle? And then eventually it lands?
Right.
She needs you to listen through the plane. And all you got to say to yourself is, okay, she's circling now. Okay, she's about to land the plane.
I feel like
women usually, women usually say
this.
right before they land, they say this one little statement, and that's the point. So while she's circling, you just be like, birds and chirping in your head. Okay, she about to land it. Okay, let me just tap my leg and let me see if I can just hold on.
Right.
And then when she landed, she's gonna make this one statement. You're like, oh, so the point is, and you won. You're like, all roses, and they're happy. Because we say, oh my gosh, he listens to me. He understands how I feel.
The
Now,
lies,
the next argument
though.
we get into, I'm gonna be like, don't be trying to say what my mom said. You're not really listening. You didn't hear what I said. You don't listen.
See, and it's the problem. Bougie Brie.
Yes.
Breezy
all,
Bree.
Bougie
everybody,
Brie.
every woman does it. We all have our crazy. Just like all men have y'all crazy. We all have it.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Men don't tap into their emotions. So it takes you guys a long time to get to what you're feeling, because your first thing you guys go to is anger. Anger is their go-to.
Because you know why? They don't want to
acceptable.
They don't want to show the gentle side. They don't want to show the
Well,
emotional
society
side.
says don't.
That
Man
crying.
code says.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Don't show your
exactly.
emotions.
Don't show your emotion.
Yeah.
Right.
If you cry, you weak.
Absolutely.
And that's
We
so
touched on
untrue.
that last week. Yeah.
The last time we talked, we touched on that.
Yeah.
It's so untrue. It is so
Well,
untrue.
it doesn't work in a marriage. It can work in the world, right? That's true for the world. You don't have to show your emotions to the world, but in a marriage, the person has to know how you're feeling.
Absolutely.
But if men stop feeling at 5 and they don't start back feeling till their wife said, how you feeling? They're about a 3-year-old with feelings.
Okay.
Where we got 18, 20 years experience in feeling.
Absolutely.
So y'all got to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I agree. But he's doing a lot better, telling me how he feels. We talked about it. He said, I feel like the other day, and I couldn't do nothing but shut up and just listen.
That's good stuff. That's respect.
So you
That's
always,
good.
you always
That
telling
is
me.
good.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
You always
I'm
telling
doing
me.
it.
And he
I'm
said,
listening.
You're always telling me you want me to tell you how I feel, and when I told you how I feel, you said this. I said, you're right, I did, and then I listened.
It's
That's
so
good.
important to know
That's
how
good
each other's
stuff.
feeling. Yes.
That's
Yes.
good stuff.
Yeah.
That's absolutely good stuff. You know, the thing I'm learning a lot being a single person. Is
Ooh,
that
let's
what's
talk
saying?
about it.
No, we're not
Because
talking
we was
about
talking
it.
about it on the phone.
We're not
and
gonna
I
talk
said,
about
oh, no, we're not going to be talking about stuff on the phone and not talking about it on the podcast.
I'm learning a lot now because, as I said on one of our previous podcasts, should the Lord send me someone, because I'm not going to look. I'm fine the way I am.
Right.
But if God sends someone, and he is supposed to be my husband that God sends, I want to be able to go into this new relationship the correct way. So like I said, I'm taking my time. No, I'm not dating anyone. I'm not seeing anyone. But in the meantime, I'm learning a lot so that when it's time, then I know how to go into a relationship the correct way, but also be able to, if God sends him, then he's supposed to be the right one.
Well,
So no, if God sends him, he's supposed to be, I believe, if God sends him, he's the right one. If I go look for him, or if he's just somebody, some old okadoke on the, hey.
Well, how do you know that's not the Lord giving you
because
somebody?
Listen,
so let's
when
talk
I
about that.
pray, I'm gonna tell you, truthfully, when I pray, I ask God not to. I say to God, I need you. I don't want to hear from this one. I don't want to hear from that one. I need you, and God does answer that. Believe me, and believe He does answer me. And I'm like, when it was time for me to leave CCU as a, working there, I stayed and stayed and stayed. And others was like, oh, it's time for you to move on. It's time for you to move on. God told me. And I was like, good, but God didn't tell me. Mm-hmm. And so when it was time to go, God made it made everything very easy. I don't think that, I feel like, and I talked to Bishop about it before. I said, he doesn't move in chaos. Mm-hmm. He doesn't move in chaos, Right. And so I know that when it's time, if it ever is a time, then I'm going to pray about it, and I will ask God to show me the true man. And
Right.
God shows me the true man.
Well, ladies,
We've done it again.
yet again, it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Reverend Poole, thank you for being our first guest on the Journey podcast.
You're welcome.
Ever. Thank you so much for being here with us. We truly do appreciate it. It's always nice when we definitely have a more in-depth conversation with this style of interviewing than when we did with the pre-praise report. It had to be too structured. It had to be within a certain amount of time, and we couldn't talk about the things that we talked about here today.
Right.
So I truly enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to doing it some more with some more guests.
Amen.
Sounds good to me.
Amen.
Sounds good to me.
Have you on back again? So
Amen.
for those that are listening, we will post the information about holistic counseling services in the show notes of the podcast. So go and check that out. You can check Holistic Counseling out on Facebook and their website, and also the Journey podcast as well. We'd love to see your comments. Let us know what you think. If you have something for the obvious answer segment that we're going to try doing at the beginning of every episode, leave that comment as well. We definitely appreciate it, ladies. Your job is to listen to this episode once it drops.
Find the obvious
and
answer.
find your obvious answer.
Okay.
There's going to be plenty of them in this one. I tell you, this one was a doozy.
I just want to also add on there that when calling the holistic counseling, Reverend Poole does take certain insurances.
Yeah, all major insurances.
All
yes.
major insurance.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. That's good to know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll put all the information that you will need if you are interested in reaching out will be in the show notes. And they have more information on their Facebook and their website as well. So you can find all that information there. So we look forward to it. Yeah. Thank you, ladies.
Well,
Until
thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you,
All
Mommy,
right,
for coming.
Thank you guys for listening.
Oh.
Yes, thank you.
Leave us some comments. Leave us some questions. We'll get back to you. We promise.
Leave it on.
Leave it on there. Let's talk about it.
Thanks again for joining us on the Journey podcast. We would like to thank our first guest, Reverend Taunjenette Poole of Holistic Counseling Services, for being with us on this episode. We truly appreciate the insight, and we hope to have her on again real soon. If you would like to get in touch with Holistic Counseling Services, search them up on Facebook, facebook.com/aholisticlife, or the website at aholisticlife.org. As always, I would like to thank my co-hosts, Tanya Hayes and Bree Hargrove Sita. For all the hard work and participation on this episode, thank you, ladies. And our mini co-host in training, little baby Julian, who sure does try his best to stay quiet around the podcast microphones, and we appreciate the effort, little guy. And remember, we record these podcast episodes with 3 young boys, 4 and under, in the house. It's no easy task, keeping them quiet through the recording process, but yet somehow, some way, we manage. We'll return again in 2 weeks with a fresh new episode in hopefully some lighter topics to discuss. Leave us a comment on our Facebook, facebook.com/CCU Journey Podcast, and let us know what you think. If you have anything to say, or if you have ideas for future topics, leave it all on the book. This podcast is a presentation of CCU Media. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Christ Care Unit Missionary Baptist Church, CCU Media, or Bishop Robert F. Hargrove Sr. We are all members of Christ Care Unit Missionary Baptist Church in Sicklerville, New Jersey, where Bishop Robert F. Hargrove Sr. is pastor and founder. Until next time, stay safe and take care. This is the Journey Podcast. Let's talk about it.